Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
Despite Donald Trump's predictions that the US share market would collapse once he left office, it's actually held up remarkably well around the world, despite a pandemic. And people are starting to take advantage of the lift in strange and unprecedented ways. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. All sorts of interesting things have been going on in the share market lately. Take Reddit's short squeeze on GameStop, and then there was the Silversqueeze. So what's going on with all of this share price manipulation by hordes of people right now, and how significant is it moving forward? In fact, in the broader market too, where's everything heading? For some answers, we turn to respected investment consultant and commentator Elio D'Amato, Managing Director of Spotty Consulting. And before we get into the broader state of the market and Elio's top tips, Heather Dawson asks, what was the Reddit play all about? And is there a future in it?
Well, this is the power of the swarm, in short, whereby a group of people on a forum, whom unfortunately have quite a few profanities in their commentary, but nonetheless we'll excuse them for that, engage in a collective movement whereby they target one particular stock that they have said that they believe is treated unfairly, and in effect convince everyone else that's part of the group to come along as well and put their money in, the power of the mob, as it were. Of course, the challenge with such activities is unless you have a collective purpose, it inevitably fails. And we saw that here with regards to the pursuit of stocks like GameStop as well as AMC, whereby, yes, we saw some aggressive buying initially on stocks that are effectively bankrupt, and ultimately the buying saw astronomical rises in price. But unfortunately, since that time, the price has reverted back almost to where it was beforehand, showing basically another failed revolution. But what does it tell us? You know, this market manipulation or collective buying, is this something that is unique? Has it ever happened before? Well, in effect, it has. It's happened many times. Inevitably with these things, while the actors may change, the plot remains the same. There have been times where fund managers, investors, even let's call them venture capitalists, will try to corner a market or at least move price in order to work in its favour, obviously either to the upside or the downside. The big thing that they lent on was this idea that the stock had been shorted. Now, for those that don't know, shorting is the process of selling a stock before you own it, in the idea that if the price continues to fall, then you will make a profit because you effectively sold it at a price higher than what you will eventually buy it at. And that would make sense for a company that nearly goes broke, such as GameStop and AMC. But inevitably, when you got this swarm that pushed things the other way, these short guys got hurt very, very badly. And that was possibly the more fascinating part of this story.
Now, Elio, what's happening with silver and what's all this about Silversqueeze?
Well, of course, after the Reddit readers took on GameStop as well as AMC and a number of other names, they then decided to turn their attention to a commodity that they felt had also been subjected to this short selling pressure, where a number of contracts had been written on the wrong side, which was suppressing the price. And that became the target of silver. Now, it's very different silver than what those other companies were, which were on their knees. I mean, silver is a valid commodity. It's a store of value. It's a hedge against inflation. It did have a very strong rally a few months ago, but had retraced quite a bit. And obviously it's ageless and it continues, for time on. And it even has industrial uses, particularly in the modern age with computers and conductors and a few other things. Well, the idea here was exactly the same, that they would go about buying physical silver or options or futures contracts for silver in order to manipulate the price. However, this was a very different beast than a company on its knees. And in fact, this failed relatively quickly. But it seems to have all settled down now, and the market will continue to what it's doing. There's a few inquiries going on, but I don't think much is going to change on account of the silver squeeze or the Reddit swarm.
Well, to get back to the broader international market then, look, Donald Trump always liked to take credit for the strong share market in the US, but he's gone and it hasn't wavered. How would you describe the overall strength of the market internationally right now?
Well, it would appear that the baton has been passed on to a president who's very keen to instill a lot of stimulatory activity into the US economy. So, yes, one way is via tax cuts in order to ensure that there's more money floating through the system. The other way is to put more money into the system in order to supplant any natural demand. And that's what many in the market are assuming is going to occur with the Democratic president. So, Joe Biden has, yes, taken over from a market which has done quite well and is expected to continue to do quite well. And let's face it, with so much free money slushing about at the moment like an elephant in a bath, it's really just impossible to see any downward movement in markets for any long time. Yes, we might get flash volatility as we experienced in March when COVID first really hit and we were unsure as to what would occur. Those flash moments can occur, but in terms of cyclical long-term trends, we expect it to remain positive moving forward, be it either free money, low interest rates, expansive economies, new industries, new developments. There's a myriad of different reasons why you need to be positive about the market. Of course, it doesn't mean all companies will do well. And yes, some companies will suffer from hyperbole, where the price runs ahead of the fundamentals and inevitably will revert back to it if it can't prove itself as being valid. And again, that's something we need to manage as investors. But I think to suggest that because things are different than what they used to be, that inevitably the world will end, well, that's not going to be the case. I think you'll just find a new raft of emerging leaders which will take the mantle. And of course, in the US, with the big five already being tech giants, they'll desperately be trying to cling on to power in order to maintain their position, because of course, there's no shortage of upstarts trying to assert them.
What about our local Australian market, Elio? And would you like to take a punt on where we're heading in 2021?
Well, I continue to remain very optimistic and positive about our market, be it the strength of our iron ore producers, be it the recovery in our economy, which obviously means that the banks should be beneficiaries in and around that. And this latest earnings season that we've seen has been absolutely heartening in regards to the resilience and the adaptability of our businesses to be able to maintain strong margins through what has been a difficult time. So again, as investors, we need to take heart. And as business owners, we pivot, we change, all those key buzzwords of 2020. Well, there's no difference whether you're running a small two-man shop or a business that employs millions of people. The basic core principles of running a business are exactly the same, just on a different scale, of course. But, if you can execute those successfully, then you'll do well. So, yes, I think there's plenty of industry and market tailwinds to support markets. It doesn't mean everyone will do well, but those that can improvise and adapt will do exceptionally well, and that's where we have to focus our attention.
Okay, so for Australian investors, what are the hot sectors, and do you have some hot tips for us, Elio?
Yeah, in 2021, there's a few hot sectors. I think biotech is in for a renaissance. It did experience that in 2020, but definitely in 2021, it's going to be a focus. So pharmaceutical businesses and anyone involved in medtech and that sort of thing. So two stocks there in particular, Exopharm, EX1, which are involved in exomes, which are a component of stem cells. Stem cells in research haven't been all that successful, despite the obvious use case and the idea that they should do well, given that they're the building block of our body. But exosomes have been identified as being the actual key engine. Basically, most of the stem cells useless, except this little bit. And there's one company here in Australia, Exopharm EX1, which is actually currently harnessing and using exomes in order to extrapolate and build out cures and the like. Now, Ian Dixon, who runs the business, has done incredibly well. EX1 is only one of two companies in the entire world that can produce this on a mass scale, and they're doing incredibly well and kicking goals, and just set up an office in Geneva as well, not only here in Melbourne. So they're a company really focusing on the future. Another one, Narada, NYR is their code. Two drugs in particular. One is a cholesterol lowering candidate, which has been yielding some exceptionally strong results early. And the other is a drug to assist with those who have neural or brain injuries to avoid nasty events like strokes and a few other things, which of course is a very hot topic at the moment, particularly for us AFL lovers and all those who like rugby league and rugby union, with regards to the risk of head injuries. This is a drug really targeted at helping those who suffer from such terrible events. Another industry is lithium. Obviously, the desire and consumption of batteries is going to rise. Lithium and spumante, which is a component made to build that out, is expected to run really hot. There's a number of stocks on our exchange that are involved, but two in particular I like. Ioneer, INR is their code, an emerging lithium and boron supplier who are based in the US. And we know that the Biden administration's keen to bring EVs and be more environmentally friendly, so that's a big win. And another one is Pilbara Metals, who have a lithium project in WA. That should do quite well, and we're very comfortable. They've recently acquired a company on its knees, and they'll do well. Last and not least, and whether it's for everyone, gambling stocks, gaming stocks should do well outside of casinos. Two companies in particular, BetMakers Technology, BET, which is an end-to-end B2B solution. So if you want to open up your own betting house, you can walk up to Bet and they can actually establish it and do it for you. They've done well. And the other is PointsBet. PBH is their code. A US-based predominantly company. They've been signing a number of agreements with the NHL, NBC, and a few others, and they're really making quite a strong foothold at the moment in that space. So there's a long laundry list for you, and some plenty hot themes to follow in 2021.
That was Managing Director of Spotty Consulting, Elio D'Amato. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.